Let's see if he wants to call the not all in ISO. He does. Check it over to him, see what he wants to do. He bets pot, and so far we found that this pot sizing has been kind of weak. Thus far, at least. We don't know if it's going to continue to be weak, but we know that it has been weak. I mean, I could see him showing up with a queen here for sure, betting pot on this kind of board, but he checks back the turn. I think with a queen he jams in the turn. Most fish would. I don't think he ever has an 8. I think he's got a lot of bluffs, so I'm going to check it over to him and see if he wants to just go nuts and go all in here. And he does go all in. Let's see what he shows up with here. We're going to call, obviously. And he does have complete error. So our read is that his pot bet is probably, or definitely, one of the two. It's either probably or definitely weak. So he is donking around and going a little bit nuts where he can. So we caught him there with his hand in the cookie jar. And sometimes fish will adjust, so we'll keep an eye out on that. And see if his pot sizing is always going to be weak or not. And we got to be quick to adjust if we do notice that he is switching that up and now doing it with value, because he now sees, like, because fish are like they're bad, but sometimes they know game dynamics and stuff, so he might realize now that he's like, okay, this guy caught me bluffing 3 times with my pot size bet. Maybe I'll just start doing it with value now. It's possible. I'm not saying that he will do that. He probably won't, but it is possible, and you have to I'm going to fold 9-2 here. You have to be aware of that when you're playing a fish, that there is a chance that the fish is going to adjust. All right, we'll just call here with the absolute nuts. 40 from our friend. He can still be on a bluff. He can have 5x, 2x. He can have basically any 2 cards at this point. From the way he's been playing, he still has any two in his range. Let's see if he pots again. He goes half. Maybe this is value. Maybe that's his 5x. This could be his 5 here. So we're gonna rip this in and see if he does show up with a little 5 ball here. No, he snap folds. Maybe now he's thinking, maybe I'll bluff with half size instead of pot. Let's see if this one gets respect. That didn't work either. He's probably thinking, like, nothing's fucking working. I bet pot, I bet half, I can't bluff this guy. Unlucky for him, I've had a hand every single time. You're shocking, he says. I love it when the fish kind of chat. I'm going to ask him why. Let's see what he says. He said, you're shocking. I said, why is that? I guess you guys can see the chat bubbles. You guys can't see the chat, but nice sizing, sir. Because you keep winning, lol. He's 0 out of 5 ISOing here, so I'm going to squeeze in a limp with 6-2s off. He's ISOing 2 out of 3 as we get shorter. 0 out of 5 at this level. Another little dongaroo. We're going to float this one again as well. He's probably getting tired of me calling his donks. I'm going to double float this one. I still do think he can have like bear, jack X, and queen X hands. And I do think I can get him off to fold a lot of those by river. He bets 30 here. I think this kind of fish is going to show up with like 2 pair, or even a straight here at this sizing, as crazy as that sounds. I'm not going to... I was planning on taking it away on the river. I don't like that river. I was going to take it away on a lot of different rivers, but not that one. Decent flop for us. We're going to bet 42 chips here. I do start sizing down my c-bets versus fish based on stack to pot ratio. I am going to continue betting the turn here versus a fish. I think we get a heavy amount of folds from 4x and 3x in these kind of spots. And I want to make it a smallish value looking sizing. Also will give him the illusion that I'm going to be jamming almost every single river. And we do get him to fold, which is nice. I find that fish do like folding to those value sizings quite a bit. So sometimes we get, as poker players, when we're playing recreational players, where sometimes just sizing too big with some of our bluffs in some spots, and I think that to the fish sometimes looks a little bit more bluffy than like a smaller value bet looking sizing, depending on the spot. Got the gutter here, obviously we're gonna call. He bets 30 here. Interesting. Interesting. I'm gonna bluff this guy here. I don't think he has two pair or a straight when he bets this small. If I was gonna say if he has a 6, he will. This is a bluff where I think he's gonna call a lot on the turn with this kind of hand, but I think I can get him off on a lot of rivers here. But on this river, he probably hit a 6 ball. If he checked it over to me, I was gonna continue bluffing here. It's a marginal spot on the turn though, like depending on how sticky you think that player is. You know what? I usually bet this turn versus fish. I was kind of distracted shark scoping this guy. This is actually a turn that I usually bet versus fish. And I explained why in recent videos. I guess I can explain why again. So the reason I bet this turn here versus fish, I'm going to fold this read list versus fish here. The reason why I bet this turn versus fish, I'm very tight read list versus fish. Very, very tight in the beginning portions of my matches versus fish. Because they don't really fuck around that much, to be honest, in general. And so the reason why I bet that turn there, it's like a good spot. I would bet like the pot was 80 there. I like a bet of like 20 or 30 chips there. And what that bet does is two things. First thing, it'll get some thin value from 5x combos, but also it will equity deny his hands. We'll get some equity denial from the fish, but also we're going to block him from bluffing us on the river as well. So I think the combination of equity denial / blocking him from bluffing on the river / getting a little bit, tiny bit of thin value for a very cheap price there, in my opinion, that's the most optimal play versus fish on the turn there to make a little delay. A small baby one though, because our hand is quite weak there. I'm pretty straightforward with my sizings versus fish too. Very transparent in the sizings I'll choose versus them. And it's these small things is the reason why my EVRI versus fish is really high. Amongst the highest, probably, I would say at the high stakes. I'm at about 6.6% since last year versus fish. This year I'm like 9%. Not a huge sample or anything, but I think the fish can be. I honestly think that the ceiling is a lot higher than we even think, as far as like beating some of these guys. I would say, especially the fish at hundreds are like seem like a lot worse too. So this is an interesting spot here. I like, this is again another spot where I like a really smallish kind of thin value slash I don't want to check and see a 10 or a jack and face a massive bet here versus fish kind of play. And you can make those really telegraphing kind of sizings versus fish and be totally fine with it and never be concerned about them ever adjusting, unless you're playing somebody that's like somewhat good. This is another spot, obviously versus regulars. We have an easy call here. It's not something I would call versus fish readless. I would call Jack 10 suited here though. I think fish are just ISO jamming a little bit too strong. Some fish are just ISO jamming way too weak, obviously. But with reads there, you could limp call that hand. But readless, it's not something that I think is going to be the optimal play versus just a random fish at a $100 game.